Hi, my name is Ellie, and I'd like to share with you today about seasons in our lives where we might feel unseen and how God can use these to draw us closer to Him. So we live in a world where people love to be recognized, to feel significant, to feel like we matter. All of us long to feel seen. And my son's school started assemblies halfway through the year where parents could attend. And in these assemblies, the children received certificates for completing levels on a reading app. And all the parents watch on and applaud as the children receive these certificates. But there's always a few really sad children that haven't done quite enough and don't get a certificate. It's kind of basically parent shaming, isn't it? Because if you're a parent of one of those children, you're thinking, oh no, I didn't encourage them enough. Why have they not got a certificate? And I confess that my son was one of those. And after I'd been to this assembly, I thought, right, this is it. Whatever else happens, I need to make sure he gets a certificate at the next assembly. So we regularly started doing the app. And it got to the night before the assembly, and we logged on, and he hadn't done quite enough. So I said, don't worry, and I stayed up with him, and we got there, and he finally went to bed, and we knew he had a certificate. And as I was laying there, I suddenly realized that his teacher probably hadn't printed off the certificate the night before. She'd probably already printed them. What if he didn't get one after all that? So I had a light bulb moment. I rushed downstairs and I logged into our printer. I printed off the certificate myself and I gave it to him. And I said, take this into school and hand it to your teacher because you did it. You got the certificate. Now at this point, my husband was like, you're coming across a little bit strong here. You're taking this a tiny bit too seriously. What's your teacher going to think? But you know what? It was worth it, because I saw him there standing with his certificate, and he was beaming away, even if it was the only one that was in black and white on slightly crumpled Tesco value printer paper. It was worth it. We all have that longing to feel seen, and we go through childhood relishing our gold stars, our stickers, our awards, and we sometimes carry this desire for affirmation with us into adulthood as well. Good exam grades, a decent degree becomes that successful job, that promotion. The star stickers might look different, but they're all still there. And there isn't anything wrong with these things per se, but they can easily become the things that we define ourselves by. They can become our identity. We often don't realize where we place our identity until those things are gone. Sometimes we find ourselves in seasons where we feel unseen, unrecognized, or insignificant. After I had my first child, Judah, I went through a season like this. And during that time, a verse in Matthew 6 stood out to me, where Jesus talks about our spirituality being unseen. And he says, but when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Now in this passage, Jesus is talking to an audience that understood too well the desire for recognition. In those days, being religious held status. Religious leaders would stand on the street corners and pray loudly so people could hear them as they walked past. But Jesus says to his disciples to seek their affirmation from God alone. Now, before I had my son, I'd been working as a secondary school science teacher. I was also leading a church plant with my husband, Josh. And then both my ministry and my job ended at the same time, and we moved to a new place. And I'd also gone through a difficult period of mental health after having Judah. I really struggled to know who I was anymore without these things that defined me. I felt really far from God. Where was God in the mundane, the ordinary, what felt like the boring? Where was God in the nappies, the dishes, the laundry? Could God be interested in me when I didn't feel like I was doing anything significant or important for his kingdom? Now, don't get me wrong. I knew in my head that looking after children is a hugely important and valuable thing to be doing. But it didn't feel like that at the time, and I felt really unseen, hidden away behind the walls of my home. And I realized that during that that previously my relationship with God had become about all the things I was doing. If I wasn't praying in a prayer meeting or for something important in work, suddenly I no longer knew what to say to God. And I needed to rediscover who God was when it was just me. Jesus says, when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. God is the God of the unseen. This passage took on a new meaning to me during this season as I realized that God isn't just present in these times when we feel hidden away, but he's most present there. God calls us away from the affirmation of people to him, and it's in the secret place that he meets us. We can feel hidden or unseen in many different situations. Maybe you've just finished university and are suddenly back at home living with your parents, and you're not sure where to go next. Or maybe you're in a job that doesn't feel exciting or challenging, and you find it hard to feel like you're doing something valuable. Maybe you love your job, but feel misunderstood by those around you. We can feel hidden in periods of illness, where we cannot do the things we used to do, or periods of loss and grief where we struggle to find others to understand what we're going through. But God sees us when we feel unseen. Pray to God who is unseen, and he will reward you. Jesus doesn't tell us what this reward is. I'd suggest that part of this is being truly seen by the only person that matters. It's only when we come to God as we are that we can feel truly seen and loved. Not because of what we produce or achieve or what others think of us, but because God loves us.